You're listening to The Upland Rookie, a podcast presented by Onyx Hunt, Final Rise, and Inukshuk Professional Dog Food. And you're listening to episode 85, part 2 of my conversation with Todd Agnew from Spaniel Journal. And this podcast is also presented to you by Onyx Hunt, the most comprehensive public and private land ownership data mapping tool in the world. Many tools and layers like crop types, tree species, waypoints, and so much more. The Onyx Elite membership is going to give you a ton of access to a whole bunch of benefits, discounts on awesome gear. If you're not using Onyx Hunt already, I highly encourage you, get over to onyxhunt.com and sign up today. And be sure to check out Inukshuk Professional Dog Food, the only sporting dog, high-performance dog food I'm feeding my string of dogs. Have been using this for several years, and Inukshuk has delivered and lived up to and surpassed all the hype you've been hearing about online through friends, kennels, breeders, all that. And it has just been a high-quality premium food. I've been able to cut back several cups of food for my dogs, still keeping weight on them during season, during trialing, whatever it might be. These dogs are in the best shape they've been in, personally, in a long, long time. And thanks to Inukshuk Professional Dog Food, they have 4 incredible formulas. Check them out at inukshukpro.com. And last but not least, Final Rise Gear. I am so pumped and proud to be representing the Final Rise brand. They have been producing year after year quality premium upland gear that is made for the hunter, the bird hunter who is putting on miles after miles, season after season, and wants gear to hold up to the elements of how you are hunting. You got to look no further than finalrise.com. Check out the Summit vest, the Summit XT vest, which is brand new, the Sidekick vest, as well as the Legacy. So many vest options, which are totally customizable. I'm pretty darn confident you're going to find something that works for you and your setup. So check them out at finalrise.com. Welcome back, everyone, to the Upland Rookie Podcast. I'm your host, Will Larson, and I'm so glad you guys are joining us again for part 2 of my conversation with Todd Agnew from Spaniel Journals. We're unpacking a whole bunch of Spaniel breed discussion, including Spaniel field trials, training, breeding, development of Spaniels, and just bird dogs in general. I had a really, really great conversation with Todd. If you've not listened to part 1 yet, highly recommend. Jump back to, I think it's episode 84. You'll listen to part 1, then come on back to part 2. Pick up right where we left off. Hey, don't forget, get entered into the Gunner Fan Kit giveaway over at patreon.com. Get signed up today. We'll be giving away a Gunner Fan Kit 2.0 to one lucky winner from the Patreon community. So get signed up, and you'll win a brand new fan kit, as well as an Upland Rookie hat, a couple stickers, all that good stuff. But you got to be signed up on the Patreon platform. So anyways, we're going to keep this short. We're going to dive right back into our conversation with Todd Agnew.
There are. So technically it's still the same breed. It hasn't, split, but in practicality, it's definitely different. Over the years, there's been some people that tried to, run half show and half field bred springers and try to get them titled. And I don't think anyone's been successful with that. I mean, I can't remember. I don't know what it is. 30s, 40s, whatever it is, last time, Show Dog was able to do that. What's interesting is if you look at some of the old national videos from, the 50s, they look like Show Dogs because clearly back then
the field-bred ones.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
The breed wasn't as split as it is now, obviously. But those dogs just can't compete any more than, our field dogs couldn't compete in the show ring. So,
Sure.
When you talk about conformation, I think the reality is that the show people really need to rethink their conformation because it's not functional, their definition of conformation.
So
at the same time,
paint a picture of, go ahead.
I was going to say at the same time, as a field person, we should stop ignoring the confirmation. I mean, there's everybody's got something to add and to offer if everybody's open-minded. So like straight legs, like, just because a dog can run doesn't mean it's structurally built well. Just because it has a nose and can find game doesn't mean that's good for the breed. The dog's legs are in different directions. So we should not be ignoring it any more than I think the show people, they shouldn't be ignoring it either. It's just, it's same old American story. I have all the answers and nobody else knows what they're talking about, right? I mean, that's just
sounds familiar.
The world
Sounds
we live
familiar.
in. Yeah.
I was going to say, paint a picture, like what would a standard show Springer look like versus maybe your ideal field bred Springer?
Okay, again, generalities without offending anybody.
Sure.
I would say that the show Springer tends to have more bone, tends to be a little bigger, droopier eyes, longer ears, lower set ears. Excuse me. A lot more coat, maybe. Feathering. So, everything that we would hate as a hunter, just from a maintenance standpoint.
Oh, sure.
Right. More maintenance to clean the dog up and all those types of things. Then when you get to non-cosmetic things, the show Springers tend to have worse mouths. They tend to be harder mouth. They tend to be more aggressive. They tend to be more stubborn. So that would that'd be the general stuff, I think.
Yeah, no, that's good. I love that. All right, moving on a little bit to the cocker. Then we touched on them a little bit. You talked about some of the differences maybe from them to a Springer. But first off, why the cocker craze? Why do you think I can't scroll through social media without seeing someone picking up a new cocker? They've just kind of taken over some of the bird dog world.
You could just eliminate social media like us. You wouldn't have to see it.
Yeah, there you go. I'm getting close. What do you think's driving that?
They're little, and so there's a size thing, and they are cute and they're full of mischief. And honestly,
sure,
if you have a very stressful job where you're mentally getting beat up day in and day out, go buy a cocker. It will make coming home worth just tenfold. Okay.
Are they just that people oriented?
They are masters of manipulation. and even when they're being naughty, you're going to laugh nonstop. I mean, it's just, we correct one and their tail will wag the entire time. Now, we do this for a living. So as you can imagine that, there isn't a lot of, oh, Fido, come on, don't do that. Right. I mean, when we correct a dog, it's a correction. Okay.
Right.
But when we correct a cocker, the tail wags probably more. I mean, they thrive on it. It's
like,
just,
this is exciting.
Oh yeah. I'm getting attention. I mean, they're just crazy. So I don't know. I don't know what the craze is. My pessimistic New England side says, the writers have to come up with something new to write every so often. And, those magazines are famous for having, the dog of the breed of the month, all those types of things. And I think that, one of the great things about our industry is that, women have got so involved with shooting. And down here in the South, a lot of the plantation hunts and so forth, the spouses like coming, so the women like to come ride on the wagon and see the mules and hear the stories. And, from that elevated perch, they can see the dogs run, even if they don't want to shoot. And that goes for the men as well. But, typically the women, I think what the plantations found is that instead of a 70 or 80 pound lab that sits over there because it's so big, they can put these cockers front and center with all these people on the wagon. And it's wonderful. It truly is. I mean, and it doesn't matter if the dogs overwhelmingly aren't trained. They run out there like Tasmanian devil. They make a bunch of noise. Some birds get up. They get shot, and then the cocker comes back and as happy as a clam that there's someone there that to talk to it. So I think from a business standpoint,
Sure.
that's one component. The other thing that I think they figured out is, we've all seen stories or seen video and so forth of people trying to go in and flush bobwhite quail. And those pen-raised birds, they'll run around all day long. You'll never get them to flush.
Sure.
Well, there's just something about nature, Will, that when a canine goes in, they have a way of getting the birds to flush better than when we're trying to run around and get them to get up in the air. And the cocker has really transformed the plantation hunts. It has really turned bad birds into workable birds. And that's always the problem with any preserve of any bird, is if you have bad birds, it really gives a bad presentation for the hunt.
Absolutely.
So the cocker has made birds that used to be subpar usable.
Wow.
And that's good because we're losing bird suppliers all over the country. And like all aspects, people are retiring and young people didn't come on and take it, and so it's just the nature of the beast. So they have helped with those hunts.
I never would have thought that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point of view. Absolutely. Are the cockers and the springers, so moving to the field trial side of things, are they completely different trials for those two dogs, or are they running together against each other?
In the U.S., it's separate. In Canada, they run together. Okay, so now in Canada, they don't have the cocker numbers or the springer numbers that we have in the States. Obviously, just look at the population difference. But that being said, in Canada, there's only ever been one cocker that has ever won the Spaniel Championship there. So one time a cocker beat the springers. Okay,
so springers are dominating.
So that also they and they would here too. It's just there's a separate event for the for the cockers here. Now, a good cocker is a good cocker. I mean, and they're just as good as a springer. There's no question about that. But 1,000 cockers, 1,000 springers, the springer's better.
Okay. Take me through what does a field trial in the States here look like for take either dog, springer, let's say. What's a field trial going to look like for them? Is it walking? Is it horseback? Take me through that.
Okay. Essentially, they're the same trial, cocker or springer. Right, so they run the same way. We run under the same set of rules. The cocker might run in a little tighter beat because the dogs don't cover as much ground, But it's all walking. And on a weekend trial, a licensed trial, it's 3 series. So in the first series, I'll run under a judge, and then next to me will be somebody else running under a different judge. So if you think about it like hunting, it's your dog's running in front of you while you hunt, and your buddy's off to your left running his dog, and he covers his ground and you cover your ground. Okay. But we don't carry
2 dogs
a gun
at the same
so
time.
There's a gun between the 2 dogs, and there's a gun outside of each dog. So there's 3 gunners.
But it's not you as the handler. You're just handling the dog?
Correct. Okay. Yep, it's an actual gun team because they've passed the testing and all that stuff. Okay. So you run, and they put birds out, and the field, the beat is generally identified with a course, and you run generally for 2 or 3 contacts, and you're responsible for all the game on your beat, and they're responsible for theirs. The dog has to quest in front of you and run depending on the wind. Should dictate how it looks. One thing that's different typically, though, from when we hunt is if you're running next to me, Will, and your dog puts a bird up, my dog has to honor that. So if we see the bird in the air, the gun goes off, my dog has to sit. And your dog has to sit when it flushes the bird. Then the bird gets shot. Neither dog is allowed to move. If it's your bird, the judge taps you and you send your dog for the retrieve. While your dog is out on the retrieve, my dog has to honor, and they can do it a couple of different ways. They may have to sit out there. So if that bird gets shot on my course right in front of my dog has to sit there while your dog runs over there and picks the bird up in front of him.
Oh, wow.
If if it's not on our beat, let's say, usually the judge will say, handle how you want. You can call your dog in. I could call my dog in and have it sit in front of me while your dog is making the retrieve. And then we continue down, and now maybe my dog puts up a bird. Now your dog is going to have to honor. Okay. So that goes on till all the dogs have run once. The dogs that don't do any blatant fault that is automatic disqualification, the judges generally will invite those dogs back for the second series, but now you run under the other judge. So the second series will be just like the first series, except for people swap what judge they run under. Then they'll go through the second series. At the end of the second series, the judges will get together and they'll negotiate on which dogs they can agree they want to see again that are worthy. And so they'll bring, let's say the trial starts with 30 dogs. There's probably going to be 22 to 25 of them back to the second series. And then there's probably going to be 10 of them or so back to the third. And in the third series, those are the dogs that had the best work of the day. And now you don't run with a brace mate. You run by yourself, but under both judges. Now both judges are watching you run your dog. And so then they run through whatever was in the third series, let's call it 10 dogs, and then they'll powwow and do their placements. At a national, which is the same setup really, except for in the national, there's 2 additional series. So instead of running 2 series and then the third, you'll run 4 series back and forth to the judges before the 5th series where you run by yourself under both judges in the 5th. And then the national, you do have to make a couple water retrieves and, so.
Okay. How many dogs are we talking would go to a national total?
100 plus. 100 plus.
Wow.
Yeah. They got to qualify, which isn't, these days isn't particularly difficult. They've lowered the qualification because, the game's shrinking like, a lot of this stuff. I think last year the Springer Open had maybe 120, something like that. I think the Cocker had maybe just under 100 or something. And there's an Open, which is for the pros, and amateurs can run the Open as well. And then there's an amateur national. The amateur national is only for the amateurs, and
pros can't run.
That's true for both right. And Springers and Cockers both have an Open and an amateur.
Okay. And this is all under AKC, correct? These are AKC events?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then I was going to ask you, on the event, it just slipped my mind. AKC event. Crap. Okay, I lost it. I will maybe come back to it if I remember.
Okay.
But no, that sounds awesome. Are those events? Oh, hunt tests. Sorry, I think I finally remembered hunt tests. Are you also running hunt tests with your dogs, or are you primarily sticking on the field trial side of things?
I am not, to be honest. I really don't have anything good to say about the hunt tests.
Okay.
I think on paper, on paper, I think it's wonderful when Henry and Reeks set that thing up, or it was Art Rogers, I guess. When they set that up, I think it was great intentions, but the quality overwhelmingly has really dropped. The standard has dropped. I mean, they have about, I don't know what it is, 25 different breeds that can run. And what I don't like predominantly with it is that every breed gets to write in what the standard is. So, for example, there are breeds that in the description, they say that the dog will hesitate on the flush. And so, therefore, that dog can't be failed because that's in the breed. And my argument would be is it's not called a dog game. It's not called a dog test. It's called a hunt test. And if the dog hesitates, you're never going to get that wild pheasant. That bird's just going to keep running off.
Sure.
So I have a problem with, and it's really bad down here in the South, to be honest, with the bulk of the dogs that you could never hunt. They're passing. And of course, it's all about bragging rights. It's all about them breeding puppies. So you have all these show dogs of various breeds that get these hunt test titles, and they just get to pump out more puppies. It's really, it's negligent. in my opinion. It makes me
Right.
wonder why we're paying the AKC.
Right.
I mean, and they just pass the buck. They say, well, the parent club, they set it up. Then why are you even involved?
So each breed, so you're saying breeds can kind of dictate the standard. So just help me understand that. So let's say the Cocker Association or whatever, they can kind of write in and say, hey, here's kind of our standard. We want the hunt test to be judged for our Cockers. In a sense,
they can't set up what the test is. They can set up what the dog looks like when it's doing it. And overwhelmingly, the issue is in the field. Okay,
gotcha.
So there are breeds that hesitate a lot. I mean, they essentially point. These are flushing hunt tests, not pointing hunt tests. Okay. And so, you'll have people that go to the judge and they'll hand them the written description because they want to make sure they don't get knocked for it. Okay. I mean, it's
sure.
I've been told to watch it. Evidently it's a great movie. I never have, but there was that parody Best in Show.
Okay.
That movie Best in Show or something.
Okay.
I think maybe it's Will Ferrell. It's about, dog show people, evidently. This is what it is. It's just amazing. So things like, so they have to do a piece on the land. Okay. And there's a junior, senior, and master. And in theory, they, each level that goes up, it should be more in a better format. Okay. And at the master level, they're supposed to be steady to wing and shot. And then they have to go do, depending on the level, a hunt dead. Think of a blind retrieve, but it's a hunt dead, they call it. And, it doesn't have to be exactly on the line and so forth. Then they have to make a water retrieve. And then at the master level, they have to make a water blind type thing. Well, on the hunt dead, depending on the level, senior or master, I think it's between, 40 and 60 yards, let's call it. And I mean, it's not outrageous by any stretch. And for a hunter, that's probably normal because let's face it, if you shoot a bird out there, you're probably going to walk up with your dog if you're hunting, right? You're not going to stand out there and feel, hey, watch me handle my dog at 100 yards. Look at me, right? You want to go get the bird, right? So, So it's 40 to 60 yards. And so a couple things about the rule. You can walk up halfway. So now that means it's a 20 to 30 yard hunt dead.
Oh,
okay.
Oh, gosh.
And then now you can get marked down for it, but you can't fail because of it. And then they've got written in there that I think the wording is typically it should not take more than 5 minutes. Well, that has become essentially law that you have 5 minutes. If I can walk over and pick the bird up before my dog can get it, how is that dog helping the hunt? I mean, I can walk 20 yards and pick the bird up in far less than 5 minutes.
Oh gosh!
I mean, it's just it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's cutting corners. It sounds like it's cutting corners on the intention of these bird dogs.
It is. I used to think that they're all on our side, right? Pro gun, pro hunting. But they're not. They're not. It's just a dog game. And if they would change the name, I would never have another ill thing to say about it. But it's a far cry from a hunt test.
Right.
Far cry. There's a Spaniel, very good, Springer and Cocker guy up in Wisconsin named Jason Givens. And so, we see him, we run into him, we're peers and so forth in the world. Well, he's very good. They got a lot of respect for him. So years ago, he and I were talking about the hunt test and about the junior level. And he explained it better to me than anybody has ever explained it. He said, essentially, at the junior level, if he's judging a hunt test, this is what he thinks. Forget about all these categories and rules and everything else. He watches the dog. Does the dog add to the hunt or does the dog hurt the hunt? If it adds to the hunt, it passes. If it hurts the hunt, it fails. I mean, I can't come up with anything to explain it any better than that. If it's a hunt test, is it helping the hunt or not?
Sure.
But
wow,
so
it makes total sense, man. It makes total sense. I love hearing your passion about it too, because
we have a lot of our clients are hunt test people. And they still participate, and they were involved for years, and they judge them, so their eyes have been opened up. And it has its place. And I think if
Sure.
people go there with a perspective, I think that is great. And a lot of these breeds, they have nothing else. That is all they have.
That's
So
their
I
option.
get that,
Yeah.
but I don't believe that's any excuse to have a low standard.
Absolutely.
So.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, a couple more things here. Couple of questions for you. Again, around the spaniel breeds here. So with your flushing dogs, let's take the Cocker and Springer. Talk to me about what are some of the things that you're looking for when picking out a puppy. Thinking a young pup from a litter. Let's say you're picking up a new pup from a litter. And help our listeners understand, like, what are some signs or things you're looking for in that pup when you're picking one.
Honestly?
Yes, honestly.
I don't pay any attention.
Really?
Nothing at all. I want the litter because of the paperwork.
Sure.
I probably know something about the parents at this point. We're so tied in. Christina picks the puppies based on which one she likes the looks of.
Okay.
I think it's a crapshoot. I think anyone that says they can pick a puppy they're just naive.
Sure.
Right? We have litters, and the puppies change on a daily basis, and we all fall in love with the puppy, whichever puppy we get. So you're going to like any of them that you get, and I think you get the best pedigree you can, however you define that. But
sure.
You get the best pedigree that you can, and then you pick the one that you like the looks of the best. I think it's that simple. I mean, I wouldn't even pick by, the most successful puppies I've had is when someone just sent me the puppy. To be honest. And
so you're putting your stock and your trust in the pedigree and the parents and grandparents and so on.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Now, that's not the easiest thing for the general public.
Sure.
So I mean, I know who I'm going to call for puppies. I know the background of the dogs. I know, all those types of things. It's that, should I get a puppy from the UK? Okay, well, I can't go see those dogs. I mean, we have all the videos, all their nationals, and so we're doing whatever research we can. But in the States, I see a whole lot more of the dogs, and of course, I'm only buying top end field trial stock. And I would say the general public, it'd be best if they only did that as well. Not that that's any guarantee, and not that, listen, we won the national in 2018 with Riot, and Riot is the greatest, most talented Springer I've ever seen in my life. The things that dog can do, and of course, I get to hunt the crap out of that dog. So sure. I mean, the best things that dog has ever done was never done in a field trial. It was done when we were hunting. But that being said, I'm not going to tell you that when we won the national that was the best dog in the country, because there were only 100 dogs, 110, whatever it was, and the judges thought he was. And obviously I'm not giving it back, and I don't dispute the judges. He had a wonderful week, but what about the other 200,000 Springers that weren't there? So field trialers, we have a habit of being pretty proud of ourselves.
Yeah.
And, I'd like to keep things in more perspective.
Yeah.
That
like, you're not putting all your
ground.
stock just on what they won, right? Like, you're not saying, well, just because they won the national, that means they're the best dog.
Correct.
Like, okay.
I am not. All I'm saying is that it's the only test we have. So for the general public, I do think they are better going with high-end field trial stock because it's the only thing they have. I mean, their buddy, John says, "Oh, my dog's really good." Well, if the dog was never tested against other dogs, how do we know it's really good other than we know everybody loves their dog? And it may be, that dog may be better than any dog I've ever seen in my life, but we just don't know.
Right.
Where someone that's really tied in and knows a lot of these dogs, I'm probably better able to get a puppy from a dog that hasn't been titled, and have a better chance with that because I know all the other dogs. I know the background. I know. So sure. Although I'm a hunter at heart and I don't like a lot of what the field trials offer the general public, because I don't think they offer very much. I think they use the general public as a place to dump their dogs that they've screwed up.
Mm.
And I think that's really unfortunate. But then that's why the general public kind of has not kind of, they do. They tend to have a negative, view of the field trial world. And I don't need a field trial dog. I don't want a field trial dog. Let me tell you, anyone that wants a Springer, they should all wish that they could have a dog that won the national, because there's no bad dogs that win nationals. Okay, they may have had one good week.
Setting yourself up for.
I mean, Riot's the best hunting dog I've ever had. Okay, so I mean, it's a big deal, those field trial dogs. I just don't like the field trial community thinking that the hunting community is below us. The best bird dogs I've ever needed were when I was hunting, not at the field trial. It's way harder to find pheasants going across, western Kansas. That's much more difficult than it is to find a bird at a field trial. So I just, as much as I've become a field trialer, I just woke up one day and realized I am now a field trialer. That wasn't my intention, but that's what I am. And I like them, and I like the competition, and I like the proving ground. I like all those aspects of it. I just refuse to fall into the trap that we somehow are better than the vast majority. Be all. Yeah, it just isn't. But when it comes to a pedigree, it is the only proving ground.
Yeah.
So you should put stock in that.
Todd, I love that. I love that perspective you have on those two things, because again, I've personally met lots of people who it's one or the other. It's only basing it off the field trial accomplishments of what that dog has done. Well, have you seen them on wild birds? Like, what kind of dog is that dog on wild birds? And I get asked all the time, what's one piece of gear you would never hunt without? Well, that is easy. It's OnX Hunt. OnX Hunt is the #1 digital mapping software in the world. I've been using it for several years, and it makes hunting private and public land incredibly easy. Right at your fingertips, get so much information and data that you can pull up on the road hunting. And not to mention, this is an app on your phone or your iPad, but they just released Apple CarPlay version. So if you have Apple CarPlay in your vehicle, plug in your phone and get all your pins and data with OnX right on your vehicle's display. Super sweet. Check out onxhunt.com. Use promo code ROOKIE20. Save you 20% on your OnX membership today. So I love that perspective you can have, kind of holding both those things a little bit loosely and saying that's something a test, like you said.
I'll give you a perspective. So we had a dog. I mean, we've had lots of dogs, but so this dog that got titled, and everybody loved this dog. And the dog was super. I mean, it really was a wonderful dog, and a lot of success with it. That dog couldn't find a bird in a phone booth. Okay, I mean, it just couldn't. But in a field trial, it never lacked nose, because it's a setup, it's a game, and part of the game is the handler's job to manage the dog and put it in the right position so it can be successful. Well, that's a whole lot different than going across a mile square CRP grass where birds could be anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so that dog always had the worst nose in the kennel. Never once did he have an inferior nose at a field trial.
Wow.
Okay, and lots of people, have those stories.
Sure.
Doesn't mean that he was a bad dog. It just he had the worst nose in the kennel.
Yeah. That's fascinating. That is fascinating. One more question here for you. Who would you say a flushing breed is for? Like, again, take the Cocker and Springer. Like, who would you say that those kind of dogs are for? Maybe type of bird someone wants to hunt, terrain, where they live.
Well, clearly, it's a pheasant dog. I mean, #1. I believe in specialization. I don't believe there's a dog out there that can do everything for everybody or is great on every type of game. If all I was interested in was grouse and woodcock, I'd get a setter. That's what I would have. If all I was interested was ducks, I'd get a retriever. And for me, it'd be a lab. Like Henry Ford said, it'd be a black lab. Okay. And, if all I did was quail, I'd get a pointer, an English pointer. But if I was doing pheasants, and I was avid pheasant hunter, clearly I'd be getting a Springer or a Cocker. There's no question about that. Now, all those breeds I mentioned can do other games.
Right.
Okay. So, every dog, all our field trial dogs, they all hunt. We leave mid-August and we're out there into November, right? They hunt a lot. I don't just mean, an hour on Saturdays at the local preserve. I mean, they're out there, they're hunting.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean that they're the best grouse dog. And people hunt, pheasants with pointing dogs all the time. So it doesn't mean that a pointer can't hunt pheasants and so forth. The Spaniels down here, they use them for retrieving all the time, wood ducks and so forth. But, they can't deal with the cold, nasty weather like a lab and so forth. So
Sure.
I think if you're an upland generalist, I think the flushing dogs are a good way to go. Yeah. The pointing dogs can be, a mix because of range. So if you live out west, I think, any pointing dog will fit the bill because it tends to be big country.
Sure.
If you live if you live out east, and you want a pointer or setter, you're going to have some limitations unless you've got some ground.
Right.
And some of the other pointing dogs, the Brittany's, I just don't know enough about them to where I would go to get one with the range that I'd be, would be happy with, or, some of those other pointing, the short hair. I think the short hair came about because it was kind of an in between dog, range wise. But I think whatever breed you get, a well-trained dog is a well-trained dog. I don't believe that, we get a lot of calls about the Cocker from people that are, I'm getting to be 70. I can't run a pointing dog anymore. Let me tell you something. There is no hunt that I've ever been on that is more miserable than a high-quality flushing dog that is not trained. You'll never pull the trigger, and the dog will never be near you because he will just rid the county of every bird he can find. At least an untrained pointing dog is going to at least pause when it smells a bird. You might actually have a chance to get up. Yeah, but like a quality Springer, untrained, I can't think of a more miserable hunt.
Oh, gosh.
So, I think a well-trained dog.
That's good advice. Yeah.
Regardless of breed, well-trained dog.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Well, Todd, as we wrap this thing up, sir, we got our closing question and a couple rapid fire ones. I know you kind of covered the closing question I always like to ask. What advice would you give the rookie out there, someone just getting started? I know you touched on that a little bit earlier in the episode. Anything you would add to that or change?
Yeah, I actually wrote some stuff down for you on that one.
Oh, love it. Love it. I'm prepared, Todd.
I'd encourage them to start simple. Okay. Their goals are going to change. If they stick with it, what is interest of a priority today is going to be different a couple of years down the road as they get more comfortable and they learn more. Most people are worried about high-powered dogs. And when you're new, that can be intimidating. And when you live in the suburbs, that can be intimidating. I get all of that. But if they get some help, it'll be manageable. And when there are very few birds around at 2 p.m. in an arid environment, you're going to really want that high-powered dog because it's the only chance you have to find game. Okay. Sure. Don't follow the crowd. So the magazines are famous. I think is it August where they give all their hunting outlook. Don't worry. The places that they say there are no birds, we made a career of going to those places. There's always birds. It's just a question of how hard you want to work. Okay. And then the last thing is while they're with their dog, I would encourage them to do everything they can to learn how to read their dog. Okay. When it comes to a spaniel, most people that are new to spaniels, they think the dog is always on game. because a lot of tail action, and particularly the cockers,
Sure.
is even magnified. But to really learn when their dog is on game as opposed to when it's just questing, because then that means they get an opportunity to prepare, not just for the shot, but prepare, where are the roads, where are the railroad tracks. They can take a look, where's the danger zones, where's everybody standing,
Sure.
where if they're never prepared that their dog is on game, things are going to happen really fast, and then they're not ready.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's great,
yep.
Todd. That is great. Thank you for sharing that. That's some good advice right there. Okay, a couple rapid fire questions for you, and we'll bring this thing home. So you can just kind of give me your off the cuff answer, and we'll cruise through these. For you, Todd, what came first, the gun, the dog, or the bird?
What came first in life?
Yeah. Out of those things, what came first for you? What was kind of that first love?
The dog for
Dog.
sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
You can feed
when
the
you're
dog
hunting,
under the table.
Oh yeah, there you go. What gun are you carrying into the field and why?
Side by side for sure, and
Okay.
20 gauge.
20 gauge side by side.
You can shoot all game with a 20 gauge.
I love it. I'm a big 20 gauge fan myself. My next question, I was going to say pick one gauge to use for the rest of your life. Is that the 20 gauge?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Favorite breed of dogs besides the ones you own?
Boy, there's a lot of them, Will.
This one gets everyone.
I mean,
Gets everyone.
Yeah, I like foxhounds.
Foxhounds. Okay.
Yep. I just think that
And
watching that pack and the social interaction of that pack is just remarkable.
did you do some running some hound dogs back in the day?
Yeah, not foxhounds, but hounds. I've been out
Hounds.
with lots of hounds. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Very cool. I'd love to get out with some hounds someday. That'd be fun. Favorite bird to hunt and why?
Grouse I find it to be the most challenging, other than chucker, but those days are beyond me. I think we shot chucker in Idaho in 07 or 08. I just don't think I could go do that again. That's just
You're like, I'm good. I'm done.
Yeah. That's just brutal.
Yeah.
But the grouse is it's just amazing to me how they can just always put cover between you and them. They just have a knack for the one place that they can escape without you seeing them. They seem to find I find it remarkable.
Smart little birds.
Yep.
Oh gosh. All right. Two more here. Your go-to snack on a hunting trip?
Almost anything with peanut butter.
Okay. Peanut butter, whatever. It's in your truck.
Yeah.
Love it. And then last one, beverage of choice after a hunt.
Any good single malt.
Good single malt. Okay. All right. Well, Todd, thank you so much for taking the time and unpacking more about the Spaniels and just some of your journey and experiences that you've had. I've greatly appreciated it.
Thank you, Will.
Absolutely. And where can Todd? Where can people, if they have questions or want to follow along, want to learn more about your kennel? What's the best place for them to go to find out more?
Spanieltraining.com or craneyhill.com. From there, they can get any of the stuff that we peddle and the courses and that type of stuff, as well as they can send information. But like I said, that all goes to Christina, and she's filtering through it, and this phone number, whatever, everything's there. The easiest thing is probably just go to the website.
Okay. And one thing I forgot to ask you: are you doing any kind of clinics or things that you'll travel around to do any kind of seminars or anything like that yet? Or
yeah, we have traveled around in the past quite a bit. These days, we usually just have them here. Just I'm on the road enough as it is. But January, we always have our seminar in January. Sometimes we'll have another one as well. We've got an online puppy course.
Oh, very cool.
A streaming thing, and then we have a training forum. But the training forum, ton of information on there, Will, but it's very raw. It's just periodically Christina comes out and just films me training and whatever I'm doing that day at that time with that dog. So it's not a step 1, step 2, step 3. It's just a narrated, you know what? I don't know what's going on with this dog. I think that, it's very raw, which is great. But that's a monthly thing. I think the course is just a flat fee.
Okay.
And then there's blog stuff and there's a bunch of links to other podcasts, just different stuff on there. So the website's pretty all-encompassing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll link the website in the show description here, and some point people over there if they have questions or want to check any of that out. So, Todd, thank you again. This has been so much fun, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon.
Will, can I ask you a couple of questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, so what hunting are you doing out there?
So I'm running Brittany's. I'm running pointy dogs, and I'm getting after some mountain grouse. Sharp-tailed grouse are probably my favorite out in the prairies. But I mainly travel out of state. So some mountain grouse I'll do here in Colorado, but then some of the, whether it's sharp-tails or Hungarian partridge, I've been traveling to Nebraska, North Dakota, Montana, stuff like that.
Okay. So when you say mountain grouse, you talk about forest grouse, blue grouse, that type of thing?
Blue grouse. Yep. We've got a pretty good population here in Colorado.
Okay. And do you go north for that, or are you going south for that from where you're at?
From where I am, the blue grouse are going to be anywhere in the mountains pretty much. So you could go northwest. Somewhere west of me. I'm just south of Denver. So I'm heading west and chasing blue grouse. Okay.
Yeah. So I was just going to say we were up there. I guess .0 is where you go up to the flat tops.
Okay.
And it was there were a lot of birds up there. This is a bunch of years ago, but tough walking though. You get up 10,000 feet.
Oh yeah, especially for out-of-staters. Especially.
Yeah.
You better be bringing some cans of oxygen.
That's right. It was different for for sure. But then you guys got ptarmigan up there too.
Yes. I have not chased those yet. I've known some guys who are successful on them. I have not. Because you're ptarmigan, you're getting up even higher, getting 12, 13,000 feet for some of those guys. So I'm definitely on my list to try someday. Some ptarmigan, but
all right, great. Hey, Will, you have a good day. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Todd. And Todd, hang on 1 second before you hang up here. Okay. Do you see on your screen it says uploading 99%?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we're just going to wait until that hits 100, and then you can close out your app. So I'm going to hit stop on the recording, but we'll still be connected. So hang on one.
Okay.
Well, that's a wrap of episode 85, part 2 of my conversation with Todd. Todd, thank you so much for taking the time and unpacking more about the Spaniel world, specifically the Springer. It's definitely got me curious. Sounds like an incredible dog, as well as the Cocker. And so I learned a lot. We had some laughs. I really appreciate you unpacking more about those breeds and your journey into upland hunting, training, breeding, all those things. Hey guys, don't forget to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You greatly help the show get out there to more hunters, more bird dog lovers just like you. Hey, stay tuned next week. I have a very, very special guest joining the podcast. I think he's never done a podcast before. It's maybe a first. I'm super excited for the next one. Stay tuned. Not going to give it away who it is, but again, don't quote me 100%, but I'm pretty sure he's not been on a hunting podcast before. So get ready. It's going to be a good one. Stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed. It's going to come out soon. Again, thanks for listening. Until next time, go put some miles on those boots and follow your favorite bird dog. Take care.